Hey, welcome to Leaven and Leaven. I have Keith here today joining me. Keith and I go back the last 4 years being in a mastermind together and had a lot of great experiences in inner work and learning together. So, welcome, Keith. Maybe you can go ahead and give a quick intro and tell me about your inner work journey, how you got activated, stayed committed, and what does it mean for you?
How's it going, Tone? Good to be here. Thanks for having me. This is exciting. Name's Keith. I'm a business owner, father of two, and someone that has been on this inner work path for about 25 years. And on this path, just because, growing up in a way that was not in alignment with me, there was a lot of confusion of what's going on in my head and in my heart, and trying to find my peace and my harmony and my balance, and understanding what's inside me that is making me feel so damn chaotic all the time and unsafe and unloved and confused. And so I went on this journey to really understand my mind and my heart and my spirit, and try to make some sense of this wacky world we live in. So I've been through everything from therapy to coaches to retreats, meditation retreats, and reading books and everything in between, men's groups, and any arena to help practice this work to get some self-understanding and basically expand self-love.
Yeah, 20 years. That's great to have you first on this podcast because there's so much experience there. I don't know if you can go back and look at, was there a point on how you got activated? Was something happened to you or you just found interest in it? How do
Yeah.
you think you jumped into it? And then what did you find to really stay committed to that?
Well, the first interest started as a child of being just always feeling out of place and always feeling confused and always feeling like, why do I feel this way? And looking around, everyone else is doing what they're doing. And it just was very confusing. And then when I was 25, I went on this retreat, a 3-day. It's called the Sterling Men's Weekend. And that kind of opened my mind to just what's going on inside. And after that weekend, we got into a men's group where we sat down there and we got as vulnerable as can be and brought all our innermost fears and traumas to the table. And it was held in a space where it could be seen. And I saw everyone was in pain. This is not just what the hell's wrong with me. This is a human condition. It's not always spoken about, but it exists in all of us. And the ability to articulate it, and the ability to get intimate with it and know it and express it and understand it and give it attention and give it the love that it needs, rather than push it down, forget about it, move on, just go make some more money and get some more ladies and get distracted from really what's going on inside.
Getting a bunch of strangers together, talking about your inner world, I feel like you've been able to drop into that several times through your inner work career.
For
What do you
sure.
think stands out on how a group can really start to be vulnerable with each other? What's your experience with that?
Yeah, it takes a leader. I know for me, I was very reserved. I was young, I was scared, I was inexperienced, and I didn't feel comfortable to just come out and say, "Hey guys, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I'm scared all the time. I don't have confidence in me, but other men making that leap first, like I don't want to look bad. Everything inside me, like I was conditioned to try to look good, look big, look strong, look handsome, look funny, look successful, whatever the thing is. And when you look like that, then you get people's attention and love and respect, and you feel loved and respected. But it's just not true. It's a lie. Expressing what's actually going on inside there. So I had a lot of men in my life that would come forward and they would express what's deep down in their hearts, and I would resonate with it. And instead of looking at him and saying, "Oh man, this guy's weak," he seemed like a superhero, that he could articulate that and express that. And I'm looking at him as this badass dude. And here he is crying his eyes out and expressing his deepest, darkest fears. And I'm like, wow, that's not weak. That's strong as hell. And so I got that modeling done, and that gave me the courage to share. And then over the years, I've been the one that in a new group to be able to bring that kind of thing, because I know we can all resonate with it. We all have pain inside of us to connect to.
Mhm. Yeah, and that's why I like this podcast to have others resonate with each person's story that comes on here. And Do you have a story that sticks out for you on and something that you applied in your work that you got over with through the practices that you've developed?
What comes to mind is the most recent one is really cutting the cord on my attachment to my work. And for me as an entrepreneur, that title, entrepreneur, right? So if my business fails and I got to go get a job, I'm not an entrepreneur anymore, and that hurts identity. I'm successful, financially, right? And that what that does for my identity and what the home I provide and my kids in school and all these things that I felt like made up me, and it makes up my self-worth and my value, and therefore my ability to feel love for myself and feel love from others. And that whole system is fucked. I mean, because the market goes up and down, shit happens in business, and my business could be wiped out like that tomorrow. And I could feel the anxiety of that every time my business was under threat. I was under threat. I experienced it as, oh my God, if I don't fix this, I am fucked. And through the work of really going in there and diving into, what do I actually believe? What has been conditioned in my brain that I need to be these things to be okay? Is that true?
Mm-hmm.
No, it's not true. And to get in there and know, like, Tony, if you lost your job, lost your girl, lost all these external things, is there any chance I would love you a single droplet less?
No.
Absolutely not. You're
Right.
my boy, dude. I love you forever, and I'll support you no matter what happens going forward in life, right? And that's how everyone views, you and views around. It doesn't even matter how they view. That's how I view. I love me for me, not for what I do externally. So cutting that cord of, I need this business to be okay, to I am okay and I can play in my business, and wherever it goes, I'm cool with it. If it fails, I'll start over. If it succeeds, great. Stays the same, great. No matter where it goes, I'm okay because I'm not dependent on it anymore. So that was huge. That was 20. I mean, I've had my business for 17 years. That was 17 years of daily anxiety that doesn't exist in me anymore because
Mm-hmm.
of that deep dive. Took years to get in there and cut it all out and understand it, what was driving that anxiety. But that's an example of what this inner work can do.
Yeah, it sounds like you were aware of the anxiety. And
For
I think
sure.
that's even one step in this inner work is developing this self-awareness practice.
Mm-hmm.
But it seems like you pulled the onion, a little bit further, and that's when the magic happened. Can you talk more about that moment and how that happened?
Yeah, I mean, I really do think this kind of stuff is best done with some kind of coach, because if you are only going inside your own head, your head's filled with all this conditioning, and there's some concepts you can't get over unless you're not even introduced to these other concepts until they're introduced to you, and then it takes some work to get there. But understanding that I'm okay no matter what. I'm going to live here between birth and death, and whatever happens in between, I'm up for it. So I don't need to protect, these external threats. They're not threats. They're just shit that happens in life that I'm here for. It's part of my experience. It's like a dance rather than a struggle. I don't have to grip. I can just be with as my business goes up and down. Life goes up and down. It's like this wave, right? And you can ride the waves, or you can just only be okay if it's on this upward, constant, consistent upward trend. And when it's going down, you feel like shit. And when it's going up, you feel good. And I was just done with being on that ride. It was really uncomfortable, and it's a brutal way to live. And I think most of us look to the external to control these waves. Like, if I just make more money, if I just get the girl, if I just, have the house with the picket fence and all these things, that's going to bring us this peace. It's a lie, as you know, as a man who's got the girls, got the business, got the looks, you got all the things. Just, it doesn't mean now you're good and life's good. It doesn't work that way. It's a lie. So
Mm-hmm.
what will get me good can only be addressed internally. It has nothing to do with the external. The universe does what it does.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Thanks.
It kind of leads into a question I want to ask is what would you tell your younger self? now that you know what you know and you've been through this process, and it's such a long experience. And even when you thought you were good and you're just managing, but you finally made it through this extensive period where it's almost like epiphany for you. So
Mm.
going back and say, wow, if I could tell my younger self this now, this is what maybe I would tell
What I'd love to tell him is to just ride that wave of life and it's all going to be fine, but that guy wouldn't hear it. I wouldn't hear it at age 20 or whatever.
him.
So instead, what I would tell him is, you're doing great. You're the best version of yourself as you are, just as you are right now. Never forget that. It's a journey and it's beautiful the whole way through. It gets hard, it gets easy, you laugh, you cry, all the things. Just enjoy it, man. There's nothing at stake here. I went through life like I should live this way. There's a certain way, but how should I do it? There is no should. Paint your picture, write your book, live your life how you would love to live your life. That is the what you resonate with. And if that's hanging out on a beach and like renting jet skis in Bali and just chilling, or if it's going to the startup and, raising $1 billion, like whatever you want in between, that's the life you can create. And that is the life you should have, whatever you choose. There is no right or wrong way of doing it. Maybe he would hear that.
Mm-hmm. That's motivating. And I think that's been your character that you've developed through this work too. And just being in groups with you and in your leadership of motivations, always been inspiring. And I think it's because you've gone through that experience. So, when you're talking about going back and almost motivating and comforting your younger self, I think that's such a powerful practice in inner work, to kind of go back in time and ask yourself, what did he need? And then be that motivator like you said you would, like the things that you were able to say.
I mean, we can kind of do it now sometimes. If you think forward, what would 90-year-old you come back and say? Like, you hear it all the time on people on their deathbed, and they're just like, dude, just enjoy the ride. There's going to be a bunch of ups and downs. You're going to make it to here, and then you're going to die. Like, don't worry so much. Shit's going to happen, and you're going to get through it until you're dead. You know what I mean? Like, you get through everything until you die. So just be with the experience instead of wishing the experience was different than it's gonna fucking be, whether you like it or not.
Yes. Anything else that comes to your mind when you think about inner work and you look at, the mastermind that you and I were in for 4 years and all the work beyond that? Is there anything else that sticks out to you that you would love to share here?
I've said this a little bit, but I want to double down on it. We put so much attention on the external. We put so much effort into making more money, so much effort into looking good in various ways. And it is a dead end road. There is nothing. I love the Jim Carrey quote. I wish everyone could be rich and famous so they can realize that's not the answer. Like, save yourself the sweat, blood, and tears of grinding to get to this. If I just had $10 million, I'd be okay. If I just had this, I'd be okay. It's not true. It's all in here and in here. It's in our hearts and in our minds. And understanding how your heart and your mind works. This whole world is colored through our beliefs. If you think this world is a piece of shit and sucks, guess what? It then does, because the only thing that decides if it sucks is you. That's it. If you think this world is gorgeous and beautiful and magical, then it is, because that's the only thing defining it. It just is what it is. Your opinion of it is your opinion, it's your perception. So how about getting into your mind and your emotions and understanding how those things work so you can work with them rather than constantly fighting against them? And if you understand how it works, then you know how to show up. Otherwise, you're playing these games where you're running on a hamster wheel over and over to nowhere. That's why, you get these like midlife crisis thing. When you get into your 40s, you're like, man, I've been running this race for so long, and there is no top of the mountain. There's just more mountains. So what's up with that? Get in here, understand, feel, know your mind, know yourself, love yourself, and then enjoy the ride.
Yeah. I love when you speak, Keith, because there's so many times that you're able to get out of your head and into your heart. And that's one thing that you taught me that I'm still working on. And any other advice around that for those that get stuck in their head. They don't know how to get to their heart, or they're not even aware that they're in their head and they have
Sure.
no access to
Sure.
truly being themselves in the heart.
Yeah. If you're one of those guys like, yeah, I haven't cried in 10 years, I don't cry much. Listen, when we're sad, it's uncomfortable. It can be. When we're, frustrated or anxious, our instincts are to push that shit down, push it away, compartmentalize it, push past it, go distract yourself, grab your phone, go work harder because the answer is somewhere external. It's all in here, man. So if you're feeling it, get in there, man. Like I make a practice of every day getting into meditation and just feeling what's inside me and expressing it. Sometimes I cry my eyes out. Sometimes I laugh my face off, just feeling what is in there. And it's like the soundtrack to our lives, these emotions. Like it's not something we want to suppress. But even feeling sad is beautiful. We can watch a sad movie and we love it. We watch a scary movie to feel scared because feeling scared it's exciting. Feeling sad is beautiful. But when we, no, I don't like this, I don't want this, that resistance to it,
Yeah.
that's the shit that makes it suffering. That's the part that really sucks. But if you're just like, oh man, my dog just died and I'm sad, like fucking cry. It's a beautiful experience. But you don't allow yourself to do that. You're missing out on the art and the dance and the beauty of life. This is what being human's about, is feeling and expressing. And if you're just in your head all day, you're missing half of it,
Yeah, that's well said. Because the first time I think I started to move into more emotional, I remember that resistance that you're talking about is, wait a minute, I'm a man, I can't be crying. Like, so I remember that coming into me, stopping it and saying, no, I'm gonna let it go, do a little cry here. And it was an amazing experience to come out of that and say, wow, I can feel. Like I just gave gratitude to actually feeling and realizing how much of my life I didn't allow myself to feel.
Totally.
So that's great.
So I want to say one thing about emotions because they're really important. It's like, something in the world happens, right? And it goes through your belief, right? Of like, I don't like that, or I don't want that to happen, or when that happens, I feel bad, and an emotion comes up, right? You either have anger or resentment or joy or sadness, whatever happens, it goes through that belief and it bangs up against it and it creates this vibration that is an emotion, right? And most of the time we ignore that shit and stuff it down, but it's an opportunity to understand what's going on inside our minds and our hearts. There's that vibration, that emotion, we can trace it back to a belief. That customer just said he doesn't want to do any business with me. And now I feel super anxious because I have a belief in me that says I need that customer to pay me money. And without that money, I'm not okay. Is that true? Is it true I'm not okay if that, so you can trace the emotion is like the guiding light back to the belief that is fucking you up, the conditioning. Maybe your dad said, never disappoint a customer. Or your dad said, you need money or you're a fucking loser, or society said it, or it gets stuck in there.
Mm-hmm.
The only way to find it is through that emotion. It brings you back to it. And then you let it, you cry it out, you let that vibration pass through and you cry and you feel it and you get to know it and it expresses itself. We're going to be fucked. Oh no, if we don't make this happen, we're fucked. You really let it express and you know what it's saying. You gave it love and attention and then you bring it some truth. What's the truth? Mm-hmm. There's nothing that's going to happen in this life that I'm not up for. I'm ready for it all. I'm here for the full human experience. Whatever happens next, I'm with it. I choose what's here. I'm up for what's here. I don't need it to be any other way than how it is, and that's my truth. And so when that customer calls, it doesn't push on that button anymore because I went and I loved that button and I brought it a new truth. I brought it in a new perspective. And now that gong doesn't happen anymore, that anxious reverberation, because I'm just up for what comes next.
Yeah. And I think that's all about this practice is understanding those triggers, those pieces of awareness, because that's exactly it, right? Like, wait, why am I angry? Let me trace that back, like you said, and just have that emotional fluency.
Mm,
Just understand where it's coming from. Like, okay, well, let me feel into that motion. And you
well
can even
said.
take it back and look at yourself on, is that a pattern? And how far back does that pattern go? And like, wow, it started at this. And being able to say, this is the root cause like 10, 15 years ago. Like, that's even more powerful to trace back to.
Think about how much time we'll spend on sports, or we'll spend on, I'm a history buff and I learned all about World War II. And how about understanding emotions? You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
But understanding your mind, what's a better passion and like interest to understand what the hell's going on inside us? What could be more interesting than that?
Yeah.
But it's amazing in our society, we don't make space for that. And most people don't understand that. Most people don't step into that with all that they got because it just isn't modeled for us. But you get hungry, you get interested, you look around, you'll find people modeling it, and you can work with them and kind of get more exposed to this stuff, and then not have to fight through life. You can dance through life. You can dance in the rain. You can dance when the storm is there. You can be like, holy shit, this is fucking intense and wild. This is fucking nuts. Here I am. Let's go. What do we do next? Let's be here for it. Rather
Mhm.
than, oh no, this sucks. I hate this. I wish this wasn't happening. When's this going to end? It's just you going through the same thing, just a completely different experience.
And I think that message is really the purpose of what I want people to connect to. And that's huge to be able to understand that that's okay, to be able to build the awareness practice. And I think you brought a great handful of stories today that people can relate to. So thanks, Keith. Appreciate it.
My pleasure, man. Thanks for having me. This is great.